Wasn't as bad as we thought. Yesterday, I had to go and listen to something from last week's episode, and it begins, well, yesterday was election day. And I was like, it wasn't as bad as we thought, everyone.
Here we are a week later. We're not as terrified. Oh my goodness.
But we're still disappointed, America. So
more importantly, we will be phone banking again for Reverend Warnock in Georgia.
The astrology people out there are going to appreciate this, but Georgia, just having to get all this attention all the time. They're like the Leos of the states. Now, anyway, those of you who are into astrology, tweet at me and tell me what all the other states' zodiac signs are. Actually, maybe you won't be tweeting at me, though.
Well, that's the other thing. Sarah's punch drunk. Twitter's finally going to go away and she won't have to quit it. And I'm actively mourning every night and lighting candles.
Jen, here's something cool. You guys, I discovered Fated Mates has a Tumblr. Did you all know that?
We're all just, I mean,
Eric runs a Tumblr.
Tumblr's back the same way QR codes are back. And that makes me wonder what else is going to come back.
Listen.
Everyone, the Razor phone is coming back, right? What's going to happen? Maybe the clinch cover could come back. If we're putting it out there into the universe, I have a request.
Painted covers. That's what I want. But yes, Eric runs it, you guys, so you can go harass him there. So anyway, I spent the morning deciding to go back to Tumblr. So if you're there, you can follow me there, Sarah McLean at tumblr.com. Oh, here it is. Visit fated-mates.tumblr.com and see our episodes. You can see Eric's been posting stuff about fated states in here. There are reposts of old episodes that are, relevant. There's stuff from YouTube. We also have a YouTube channel, everyone. Listen, Eric is on top of it.
I'm excited about it.
We will put links. Here's what we'll do. We'll use show notes for what it's for. And we're going to put links in show notes to all the surprise locations. Jen and I will be very surprised by some of it.
We're just, you know what? Listen, we all are planning our escape routes once the Twitter collapse happens and we're all stuck in the Twitter mines.
Yeah, we're all... Twitter is a prison planet.
Only not sexy. You're like, I got stuck in here with an incel. Oh, it's not funny, but it's funny.
You gotta laugh at it or else.
It is upsetting and shocking to me that a billionaire can essentially ruin a public service in a couple of weeks. When you're playing Monopoly and you can buy
the electric company.
Yeah, that's fucking happening in real life. But then he's like, let me ruin the electric company.
We weren't prepared because he wasn't given a monocle.
Where's free parking? I could use $500 right now.
Here's what I will say. You know what billionaires do not ruin public services? Billionaires and romance novels.
Because they're fantasy, Sarah.
I mean, if anybody refutes the romance is actual fantasy argument, just say billionaire to them.
Sure.
There, you win. You win the argument. I was watching somebody from HarperCollins, who is currently on strike right now, tweeted a big thread. I don't think she's from the romance world of HarperCollins, but at one point in the thread she said, and as you know, the only billionaires I like are fictional ones.
You're like,
yeah. And I was like, one of us, all right. I too don't like billionaires. So anyway, Twitter is mayhem, but you know what? It's the most fun it's ever been.
It's really fun again. I will say that. I mean, people are really embracing it. Yeah.
Really clever and fun. But who knows what's going to happen? I read an article today that was basically there are so many little cracks in the
foundation,
in the engine already that it's only a matter of time
before it just stops working. Yeah, exactly. Every morning I wake up and I turn it on and think, is it still here? But I already can tell things aren't really working.
Listen, MySpace is still up, so it's fine.
See, there you go.
I don't actually know if that's true, everyone, but I think it feels right. So if Twitter does go down, you can still find us on Instagram at FatedMatesPod, and that is where we are for sure.
Yes.
Eric, I also know now we are running a Tumblr.
And a YouTube
Apparently
channel.
we have a YouTube channel, and then
We
we'll
have this
figure it out
podcast.
from there. We do have this podcast. You can always find us on Wednesdays in your ear hole.
Somebody on Twitter joked that the comment section of like the Fated Mates webpage is about to be hopping. And I was like, that is kicking it really old school, commenting on the blog.
Yeah, and we'll reply. That'll be fun.
Yeah. I joked that in my ideal world, I would not have a Substack, but I would have something I'm calling a Substick, which is just like 280 characters. I'm just going to send out my little...
You get an email anytime Jen has a thought.
Yes. Listen, Substick. That's what I think.
Jen,
it's brilliant.
You should just make a giant text thread. Everybody just send Jen your telephone number.
Sure. It's going to be amazing, everybody. I'll just be texting everybody. Well, and I feel like I'm like this. It also feels a little like, you know, like you hear about people who are like, they get like some sort of sentence, you know, like they only have however many weeks left to live. So they decide to like burn it all down and spend all their money and then they get magically cured. I am a little worried about that impact. Like I'm already shit posting on Twitter. Like
I saw this morning you came for heroes with beards and guts.
Sorry, I did. I was like, I'm sorry. Rodan, there was this amazing photograph from the Tate Museum of Rodan. And I was like, literally just kind of scrolling by. And I was like, that's a weird romance cover. And then I stopped and I was like, oh no, that is Rodan the sculptor.
Head to toe in a black Victorian suit with a beard that looks like it comes from ZZ Top. I'm really dating myself here, but you can all Google it.
Or a romance cover that you saw last week somewhere. And I was like, you know what? Here I am. I'm going to go ahead and say I think abs are better than Rodan lookalikes when it comes to sexiness.
Okay, but
fine.
Rodan didn't have time to go to the gym, Jen. He was busy making some of the greatest sculpture of our time.
That's exactly right. I think we're in agreement. I don't think anything you said invalidates anything I'm feeling about that particular aesthetic.
Anyway, everyone, Jen is out here just alienating you all on Twitter. I remain on Instagram, not alienating you all. Although I did alienate some people this week on Instagram because I said, you know, you should vote for Democrats.
You like your rights?
And people were very upset. And I honestly was a little surprised. Like, ma'am, I feel like I've done a poor job of explaining what my books and my politics are if you follow me somewhere and you did not know that this is how I felt.
Clearly, this is the non-Fated Mates listing crowd, right? Because there's no
way.
I'm like, we talk about the phone banks on Instagram anyway.
Every once in a while, somebody texts us or messages us, not texts us, but somebody messages us about the political content on Fated Mates and, you know, says we should tone it down. And I think to myself, like,
this podcast is free.
85% of the content is like, I'm your mom now. So the 15% where we're like mad, it's fine. It's fine. This podcast is free. Listen, but here's the takeaway. We're 10 minutes in, so here we are. We might as well get to the takeaway, which is Jen and I and Eric are going to do our very best to figure out a way for us not to lose the community of Fated Mates. And the one thing that I was thinking about this morning when I woke up and was scrolling Twitter was this might actually end up being really good for us, the podcast, because we've sort of avoided, we've always said, oh, we don't want to do a Facebook group or we don't want to add another thing. But this might be an opportunity for us to just like take the many, many thousands of you and give us all a place to interact. So we're going to figure out a way to do that. Who knows where. So follow us everywhere and whatever takes, I guess.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Let's talk about this week's episode, which I'm very excited about. It's basically a full banter episode. I need everyone to understand. I'm just going to...
Oh, yeah. So I'm sorry if you were hoping for us to get to something.
I'm going to let my romance brain do its romance job right now. That's how I started to approach the preparation of this episode, was more like meditative rather than like active, rocky working out, running up the steps of the Philadelphia Museum of Art.
Sure. Once again, no time for the gym. We're busy.
That's right. That's right. I had to let my brain do the work.
This podcast is basically our sculpture.
Absolutely. Okay. I wrote in, but without a beard. Beauty. All right. This exciting episode. Tell us.
For 2 straight seasons, and I hear in the spring, we will be at another season, we have recorded an episode about Roy Kent specifically in Ted Lasso. And we sort of touched on other people in Ted Lasso, but we haven't really delved deeply because we've really focused our academic research on Roy Kent and his existence as a romance hero. I have a brother. My brother is not a romance reader, and though he is very supportive and always goes to Walmart to buy 2 copies of my books whenever they come out, which is very nice. I don't think he's ever read one of my romance novels, but
That's not important.
listen, yeah, it's not important to Jen. Because he has listened to multiple episodes of this very podcast. And he became a Fated Mates listener because he listened to the Roy Kent episodes, because he, like many, many of us, is a Ted Lasso fan. But about 3 months ago, we were on the phone and he said to me, hey, listen, in the first episode you did on Roy Kent, it felt very much like I was like on a panel and like a big fan had a question. Like in episode 3.9 on Roy Kent, you and Jen talked about how it would be really fun to recommend romance novels to each of the characters.
Right.
And you never dropped that episode. I know because I've been looking for it. And I was like, wow, like this is a hardcore request. Like we get a lot of requests, but like this person actually called me on the phone to request.
You said, I mean, you guys, we promised so many episodes that have never come to fruition. So here we are getting called out.
I know. But then when it's your like family, you kind of had no choice. You have to do
Sure.
it. And also there might have been like a small note that Eric, Jen's brother, was on an episode of the podcast, but my brother has not been on the episode of the podcast. He's not, you guys, going to be on the episode of the podcast. But he requested this episode, which I think is funny because I doubt he's going to go buy any of these books, but he wants it. He's a completist, and I admire that.
Sure.
So my brother, whose birthday was November 4th, this is our belated gift to him, or my belated gift to him. I basically made Jen do this, although it was really tough to get Jen to talk about romance novels and Ted
Super
Lasso.
hard. Mm-hmm.
And also, my brother is fighting cancer right now, and so it's just a nice thing.
Yeah.
It's a nice thing we're going to do.
I'm excited about it.
But also, you know, Mark, that's my brother's name, if we get to a point where we're talking about, you know, stuff you're not comfortable with your sister talking about, you brought this upon yourself.
We're going to make it.
Say.
Headphones in is what she's trying to say, everybody. So, Sarah, let me tell you, again, I'm going to apologize to everybody. I thought about preparing, like, sort of like, okay, and then I was like, you know what? No, I'm just going to let my romance brain do its job, as I've said. But I did think about a really interesting question, which is when you're cold recommending a romance novel to a fictional character, let's say, is the tact to recommend them something that you think is like, so for example, do you look at Roy Kent and Keeley and think that's Grumpy Sunshine? I'm going to recommend some Grumpy Sunshine.
Scotty.
Of course. Right. So is the goal to like, are we going to recommend things that are kind of like the characters, or are we recommending things like just like based on your other interests, we think you would like this? See what I mean?
Or is it like, I see how this character needs to evolve over time.
Yes.
And this book might help.
A little roadmap for you. Okay, I like all of it. So,
I mean, I think the sky's the limit in large part because we didn't prepare.
Sure.
So,
it's fine.
So we're just it's pure vibes here today.
Pure vibes.
Well, I should say this. We didn't prepare. I do have an answer, but I think I'm going to save it. I'm not going to start with the one I'm ready for.
Okay.
So I think we should begin. Where should we begin? The ladies, the gentlemen, the main characters, the secondary and tertiary characters. What do you think?
This week's episode of Fated Mates is sponsored by the writing team who is bringing you the anthology, The Villain I'd Like to F.
What could that mean?
I bet something real good.
I'm really excited about this one. It features stories by some of our very, very favorite writers here at Fated Mates. Jen, for fun, I'm going to just cold read you the titles of all of the novellas in this book because I think that'll give you a lot of joy. We begin with Eva Lee's Lady Viper and the Bastard.
Amazing.
I love it. These
what
two
a title.
Are both villains who are trying to break up what sounds like a really nice little couple. And I think They're going to make one instead. Nicola Davidson's 7 Sinful Nights by a person who knows a lot about writing about sinful stuff.
Nobody writes the sinful stuff better than Nicola Davidson.
This one you're going to love. Joanna Shoop's The Gangster's Prize.
Yes.
Stop it.
I felt myself just get stronger hearing that title.
Listen, I just scanned the cover copy of this and I stuck on violent street gangs for it. Can't wait. Adriana Herrera's The Bootlegger's Bounty.
Nice.
Which is about a rum runner and a New York City nightclub singer. And Sierra Simone's The Conquering of Tate the Pious, which is set in Norman, England.
Listen, it says conquering in the title. Is that all you need to know?
Listen, I love it. There's a warlord in this cover copy, too.
I love a warlord.
I mean, and he's called the Wolf.
I don't know what a warlord
They're all
is.
called the Wolf.
But there's nothing
obviously.
sexier than that word.
No, the Wolf. We love wolves here at Fated Mates. Listen, this is the follow-up to 2020's best-selling Duke I'd Like to F and 2021's Rake I'd Like to F. And if you too like to F.
Or if you like a villain, I'm going to say, when I first lived in San Francisco, we lived above a shoe store named Villains on Haight-Ashbury. And I just thought, has there ever been a better title? And here we are all these years later, and these people have picked it right up.
I'm for it. So thank you to Eva Lee, Nicola Davidson, Joanna Shoop, Adriana Herrera, and Sierra Simone for sponsoring the episode. You can find more information about this book and all of their websites in show notes, as always.
Okay, I think we should start with Ted.
Oh, all right. Then we're going to start right away.
It's Ted Lasso. Let's start with Ted Lasso.
All right. So, Ted, I think it's impossible to do this without mentioning the fact that Tessa Bailey wrote a book called Window Shopping that
Yes.
is literally about a Ted Lasso character. He's not a soccer coach, but he is
Pure
boy,
vibes.
does he have the 100% Ted Lasso vibes. It's striking how close she gets to like true Ted Lasso corniness in this book, and also how just a freak in the sheets her hero is in this book. It's a little unsettling, honestly,
Sure.
how close she gets, and then watching Ted Lasso have like, really like erotic sex was a lot for me, I gotta say.
You're like,
but thank
it's
you,
a lot.
Tessa, for showing me this way.
Although obviously we are going to talk about romance novels mostly, I want to leave a little bit of a sliver of a window to
Yes.
talk perhaps about like romantic comedies or movies,
Yes.
right? And also perhaps some actual like not like mainstream fiction,
Yes.
right? Because I feel like there have been a couple of things that I have like thought about. I thought, oh, well, maybe I could see that. Here was my initial thought about Ted Lasso as a character.
Bring it.
And that is, I think, given his love of his little G.I. Joe men, that Ted Lasso is going to be a romantic suspense reader.
Oh, interesting choices. Okay.
Because I'm like, what is going to be the on-ramp, right? I mean, Ted Lasso is going to be like, he's an open-minded guy. He's going to eat a plate full of really spicy food. But is he going to eat a plate full of really spicy romance?
I don't know, but I also want to, counterpoint, be curious, not judgmental.
Sure.
I feel like Ted is in for anything once.
But I mean, I feel like this is the way I often approach like a new romance reader is like, well, what other kinds of things do you like? This motherfucker likes G.I. Joe. So I feel like I am going to recommend him the Troubleshooter series by Suzanne Brockman.
Okay. That's a good solid choice.
Right? It's a good solid choice. It's a long series. I feel like the first book is a Navy SEAL. I mean, I think they're all SEALs, right? In the whole series. The first one's called The Unsung Hero. There's like a counterterrorism team and veterans and, like kind of a girl next door vibe. So I think that like, to me, I feel like the first thing is going to, because I feel like I was thinking football romance. I have some of those, but I really feel like it's going to be the Navy SEAL, I think, is going to be real hard for Ted to resist.
Okay, well, I went an opposite direction because I went aspirationally for me personally as a Ted Lasso fan. And you are not going to approve of this because you and I feel very strongly about our particular ships, as the kids say, of
Sure.
Ted Lasso. But as everybody who listens to the podcast knows, like, my dream is for Ted and Rebecca. Like, I believe Ted and Rebecca are fated mates. I think it's all there in the text. We can go to the text. And so for me, I chose for Ted Alicia Rise, A Gentleman in the Street.
Now, see, I was going to think of that for Rebecca.
Well, again,
But that's
roadmap.
fine.
I'm coming at it as a roadmap thing.
Sure, for him.
Ted.
And I'm like, Rebecca,
Here's how
own your...
we do this. I agree with you. I also thought of it for Rebecca, but I really feel like Ted needs to know exactly how a billionaire businesswoman like Akira Mori, who is the heroine of A Gentleman in the Street. So this is a step-sibling romance. Like a million years ago, their parents were married. And now she is a lady billionaire. I'm for it. She makes herself big before she goes into every room, I'm sure.
Yes.
And he is an author who has like spent a lot of time. He's got a lot of secrets, and he spent a lot of time like kind of quiet and alone. But when they come back together they sort of run into each other and are forced to kind of work together for family secret reasons, and it just explodes. And he is truly a gentleman in the street and a freak in the sheets, and to the point where Sassy, it sort of came to me when Sassy sort of said, he just was Ted was the best all night long.
He knew the job. Yeah. There is compelling. I do think he would be shocked at how hot it is. He'd be like,
well, here's my thing.
He'd probably feel a little guilty about it.
Very eager to learn Ted Lasso.
That's true. So
like I'm just providing him with a textbook. Interestingly enough, like maybe he could also aspirationally consider a book about a hero who talks less.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, I have a Netflix movie, a Christmas movie, because I think Ted is a big cheeseball, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And back to my like military thing, there was a Netflix Christmas movie I watched with my like little romance buddies here called Operation Christmas Drop, where she, like, again, this movie is pure romance reasons, right? She is like works for a congressperson or something, and she's working at an Air Force base, and, you know, he comes along and they're going to like drop Christmas presents for, I think, local people or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's like super cute. And I think like the pure cheesy Christmas romance of this Netflix movie with like a good military guy kind of like coming along would be very appealing to Ted.
Yes. I mean, also, Ted believes in rom-communism. And so do we here at Fated Mates. We like it a lot. So, I mean, you could always give him Bet Me. Hilariously funny. Any of those early Susan Elizabeth Phillips's work. And also now I feel like you could give him, we talked about this in our spooky shit episode, but like Rachel Hawkins is very funny. I think he would like literally any of her books.
Any of those, I agree. Sure, I agree. I like it.
Yeah, I'm for it.
I would also like to point out that maybe he would like the little one you wrote about, the Duke, the modern day Duke. Kind of like the in England, right? It's in England.
Worth falling for.
There you go. And that American. I think he'd like that cross cultural context, right?
Sure.
Considering he lives in it.
All right, can we talk about Beard?
He's a fucking weirdo. He's only going to read the weirdest shit. And I say whatever comes after this, whatever books, I said that with love.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So, okay, Beard really likes like that sort of ravey. Yeah, that
right.
Beard is definitely down the rabbit hole somewhere in KU.
Oh, that's where he lives now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Oh, yeah.
So but what would we give him? Because I do think, like, talk about somebody who's like, he's ready for all your freaky shit.
Yes.
We don't really talk about super freaky stuff, but like, who's writing that? Like,
well, we talked about it on the daddy episode.
Is he like into daddies? Do you think Jane calls Beard daddy?
I think he might be more likely to call her mommy, if we're being honest.
All right.
Sorry.
Well, then,
I'm sure that exists in KU. That's not my kink, so I can't
No,
really speak
I don't
to that.
have mommy romance specifically, although isn't that Meryl Wilsner's most recent book a little bit, which is called Mistakes Were Made.
Yes.
But I have a good one.
I think Beard would like Odette Stone.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. The hockey books?
Yeah, the hockey books, right? Just like all of that, like the business, the running around, the action, the nonstop. I mean, that whole night that he was out and about in the city was essentially like an Odette Stone book.
Yeah. Puck Me Secretly is he might really like that. It's sort of like all a little bit secret inside the office, like some running around that happens, which is, obviously not happening on inside Ted Lasso because it's a, healthy workplace, but
I do think Beard would want a book that would validate his experience. I think he would like, for example, The Hating Game. Let me tell you why. Okay, because in The Hating Game, the two of them are like doing all the work, but really not getting any of the credit. Right? Like, I think he would really enjoy these books about like middle management, right? Where
Okay.
he's like, I keep this shit together and I don't really get any of the credit. Ted's the one who gets the credit, but I'm the one who keeps Ted in line. So I feel like The Hating Game, like that whole back and forth between them where they're like two bosses are kind of arguing in dummies and they're the ones figuring it out. I think he would really like The Hating Game.
I like it. I think they want us to believe that Beard has a nuanced past in some way, like he has some sort of secret that we don't understand, or some sort of like damage that we, will unpack at another time. And to your point about like you think that in the bedroom, like Jane probably is the dom. I think I would say Audra North's Giving It Up, which is about a hero who's a SWAT team leader and who has to be in control all the time and is, again, second in command. Like, he's in charge of the team, not in charge of, like, the whole banana. And he, like, has to, he can only release, like, in a very specific sexual situation. I think that might be Beard's one-handed read of choice.
Well, there you go. And KU. Fine. He'll find the mommy porn. I'm sure it's there.
Bless.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about Nate?
Yes. Okay. I do. I think we have to talk about Nate.
Gotta talk about Nate. What a mess.
What Nate is going to want to read is like dark romance.
Well, that's what he thinks he can. He thinks he can take it. He cannot take it.
No, what he needs is morality chain. What he needs is someone to pull him back up out of the pit.
Interesting.
Because we're going to hope that Nate is going to like take a turn and realize that he has done wrong, right? The other option, honestly, though, is that Nate just reads really, really freaky hot stuff and gets over himself.
Well, so, okay, to that point, something like LaQuette's Lies You Tell might work there, which is the hero is a gangster who was very decent and left the heroine thinking that he was doing the right thing. I think Nate needs a hero Nate needs a book where he can put himself in the hero's shoes and see the hero did the thing that the hero was not the villain.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
And so in this book, this is a gangster. He leaves the heroine pregnant, and she thinks that she's terrified of him coming back because he was a bad dude. And then, of course, it's all revealed that he's loved her forever and he left her for a good reason. And he basically it's a secret baby story. I feel like Nate would like a secret baby story. I feel like Nate would be into there's something very old fashioned about Nate.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure. I think that, my suggestion is that he reads the entirety of the Side Changeling series by Nalini Singh. That's it.
Sorry, Nate.
I'm like, Nate, I'm going to need you to put down the fucking Twitter and stop vanity scrolling, right? And just really lean into a world in which the villains are the villains and the good guys are the good guys, right? Now, and then, I guess that's not true, though, because we think the Psy are the bad guys, because obviously, based on my recommendations, what I really want him to get to, of course, is the one with Caleb, right? Which is the best, the one that's the best morality chain one, right? And so that one is called Heart of Obsidian. Right? 'Cause
Okay.
I think what Nate has going on is this, like, I'm so tough, I'm so removed, I'm at this cold, higher plane. And then he's going to realize through reading these books, like, well, what's the point of that? Why lock yourself away? Let your heart out to play, Nate. Stop being that way.
I love it.
And Nate, I'd like you to sit down and read all 37,000, every short story, read them all in order. You have a nice reading experience in front of you. It's more than you deserve, honestly.
Yeah.
I have one more recommendation for Nate. He should read Her Naughty Holiday by Tiffany Rice, because that's the one where it's the Thanksgiving one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Where Clover finally tells her whole fucking family off, because that's the other thing Nate needs. Nate needs to tell his whole fucking family off. He needs to just finally tell his father, stop being such an asshole.
Yes.
Okay.
Agreed.
Those are my Nate recommendations. I'm tired of talking about these men. I want to talk about one of the women.
This week's episode of Fated Mates is sponsored by Forever Romance, publishers of Kennedy Ryan's Before I Let Go.
Sarah, I don't think there is a single romance author out there doing angst like Kennedy Ryan does angst.
Confirmed.
Right? So in this is a second chance. This is not just marriage in trouble. Yasmin and Josiah have been divorced, and they really were like, it was going to be true love. Everything was going to go their way, but then just like too many sort of devastating blows have brought them to their knees. They had divorced, but they still co-run a business and co-parent. And so they're kind of in each other's orbits a lot. And Yasmin is finally, finding some joy again and finding a new rhythm, and things are working out, but they're like magnets. They just cannot stay away from each other. And so one night there's a stolen kiss, and all of a sudden, oh my gosh, like angst factor 7,000, right? Are they going to be able to, kind of figure out how to make things work when it seems so impossible just years before? It is going to totally thrill everybody who loves that, like, really angsty second chance vibe.
I love it. You can get Before I Let Go this week wherever books are sold, in print, ebook, and audiobook. You can also find Kennedy at KennedyRyanWrites.com, or on Facebook at Kennedy Ryan Author, or Instagram at Kennedy Ryan 1, the number 1. As always, you can find information on Before I Let Go or any of our sponsors' books in show notes. And thanks to Forever Romance for sponsoring the episode. Should we do Keeley?
I think we're going to talk about Rebecca last, because we're never going to stop once we start talking about Rebecca.
Save up Rebecca.
Okay, remember I was like, some people want to read something different and some people want to read the same. I think Keely really wants to read Grumpy Sunshine. Because she's like going to need those tools for dealing with Roy. So I definitely think she should read Managed. I do.
Okay.
I think she should read Managed.
Like as an instruction manual.
Yes. And I also think she should read Lead, like the whole Stage Dive series by my fave, by Kylie Scott. Because I feel like those are very much like, I am in the world of this man, and like, how do I deal with their dumbass bullshit?
Yes. Listen, I think Keely probably would like a historical.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Because I think Keely's down for like the whole like sweeping ball game, right?
100%.
And my first instinct was, and hear me out, The Ladies' Champion by Marie Lipscomb.
Okay.
So it's a medieval, and everybody's at this like tourney, again, like that sort of sportsy kind of feel. And this woman has switched places with this like lady has switched places with her maid so that she can like essentially like ogle hot men in the locker room. Right?
Amazing.
Like very Keely vibes here. And then everything goes south, and they're on the run from villains. And one of the tourney like champions, one of the guys who is fighting in the tourney, has to protect her, and he's like quiet and very sort of Roy Kenty in the kind of vibe, and but really super duper into her, just like Roy, like just wants to read his book next to her.
Yes.
And so I feel like, and it's very romantic, and I feel like Keely would really like it at the end when she was like, oh, this is a lot. Like I think Keely would really enjoy like any moment where she thinks to herself, like, this is like me and Roy.
I think that's a great recommendation. I think she would love, like, anything with, like, a bunch of ball gowns and shit like that. I think she'd
She's
be down
in.
with it.
She definitely
Oh, yeah.
watches Bridgerton.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, what else?
Also, I feel like Keely needs a book where, like, needs books where the hero is just fucking gone for her.
Yes.
And I think that because I feel like poor Keely has spent a lot of time dating, like, dirt bags who just are in it because they want to have a hot girl on their arm.
If that is the case, can I make a very specific I know you've mentioned Tessa Bailey already.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite Tessa Baileys, I think I've probably only, like, mentioned it before, is there is one where the hero's name is Duke. And it is the primordial grunting hero to me. Like, he basically just all this man wants to do. Let me find the title. I'm sorry. It is from the Made in Jersey series. And the actual title is... Okay, worked up by Tessa Bailey. He is a mechanic. All he wants to do is he has all his divorced sisters have come home to live with him. And all he wants to do is, like, watch Sports Center uninterrupted.
Nice.
And I just feel like Keely would be like, this I understand, right? This I understand. And she's, like, an artist and just wants to, like, draw, and she, like, sees the real him. And literally all this man wants to do is fuck her and run. It's amazing.
Oh, I love it.
Also, yeah, it's great. I'll say one more thing. I think Keely would also really like, there's a big push towards, like, cinnamon roll heroes that are in touch with their feelings. Remember, the one time we saw Keely taking care of a little personal business, it was to Roy crying.
Exactly. A soft dude.
A soft dude. And so I really think that she would love some of these, like, softer books where, like, men, you know, feel their feelings and cry. And I think she'd love all that. I don't know if those books are, honestly, because I don't read them, but I can tell that they're out there.
Jamie? I have one for Jamie. I have two for Jamie.
Tell me. Tell me about this.
Okay, my first one is Zoe Castile's Stripped, which is I picked for Jamie two books where the heroes are, like, kind of himbos.
Yes.
Right?
I was going to say yes.
Because there is something very, like, Channing Tatum about Jamie.
Yes.
You know, like a very Magic Mike XXL vibe. Zoe, who is also Zoraida Cordova, who you all know from our fantasy, who you should know from her books, but if you don't know from her books, you know from our fantasy romance interstitial. Stripped is part of her Happy Endings series. You can get it in Kindle Unlimited right now. And the hero is a male stripper who has, like, a perfect body and very much has that kind of, like, if somebody ever approached him to ask him a question, he would be, like, immediately think that he needed to tell them about his workout kind of vibes.
Yes, 100%.
Right? I mean, he's an absolute darling, and I love him, Zach, and I love him, but he has that real vibe. So Robin is a school teacher and, like, a really great person, and they meet in a very funny way where the laundromat has mixed up their bag, and she removes a star-spangled thong out of her. She's late for work as usual, and she removes his glittery thong from the laundry bag, and then, you know, there's, like, that's their meet cute to where they have to exchange their laundry. But anyway, Zach is super into Robin from the jump. He thinks he's not worthy of her. I think Jamie could stand to have a little bit of a I'm not worthy from you, of you hero in the mix, because let's be honest, it takes Jamie some time to grow.
I think Jamie would really I think he'd like it hot.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's he here for if not for it being hot?
Exactly. And I think he would like this, like, a sports angle. I think he'd like them to be athletes. I think that would be, like, a good, he's going to need a little help getting on the on-ramp of romance. So yeah. I feel like I'm going to recommend some Naima Simone, our favorite, right?
Nice choice.
Because I think that when you think about, it's not scoring with the wrong twin, it's
Scoring
off the field. And I think he would like the next one too, which does have that secret baby element.
Scoring off the field for someone else too.
Well, I mean, they'd all love it because it's a perfect book. Okay, so I think he would like. I think he would like that. I also think I could recommend Mad Rogan to Jamie, right? Because it has that whole element of like kind of magic and like, you know what I mean? I think he could be like, oh, it's like watching a TV show or something, right? I think he would kind of be okay with it being like a little light fantasy, right? He's like, I've watched those movies with, wizards and stuff. I'm down.
Yeah, I do think Mad Rogan might not get to the business quite soon enough for Jamie.
True.
And also, there are a lot of words in that book, and I'm not sure Jamie can really do the business there, but all right.
Fair enough.
I'll give it to you. Also, himbo romance, another himbo romance that I think is delightful and is also very hot is Eve Dangerfield's Open Hearts, where Dean is like a classic romance himbo. And the heroine, Ashley, is like, has it all together. She has no interest in she has a life plan. She has no interest in having a man in her life, let alone one who like kind of is a doofus.
Yeah.
But this is a really lovely story where like, he just loves her so much.
Yeah.
And like, that's a lot. That's like, I feel like Jamie needs to understand that, like, it's okay. People will love him for who he is if only he just reveals that to others.
Yeah, I like it.
Sam Obisanya.
Oh, listen.
I mean, there's the obvious. There's Nikki Sloan's The Pool Boy.
Oh, just going right for it.
Okay, because listen, I'm on the record. I'm going to say it again. He is far too young for Rebecca Welton.
Yes.
But there is Nikki Sloan's The Pool Boy.
Age gap, super hot. I'm sure they did all those things. Great. Okay, I think he would really like Farrah Roshan's Boyfriend Project series. In particular, book number 2, which is called The Dating Playbook, because she's a personal trainer, Taylor, and then Jamar is an ex-NFL player, or like he's been injured and he's trying to get back in the game. And I think that Sam would very much like the push-pull of like professional sports as a way of defining herself, right? So I think that is something that we really like see from Sam over and over again, is kind of like, who am I? Am I bigger than sports, right? Like, what is my responsibility to my teammates and, that sort of thing. So I think that he would really, like, in a different way than Jamie, right? Really like these books that really explore kind of people's, and like this one in particular, right? Like, what's my responsibility to the team? In this case, Jamar's best friend, who he grew up playing with. I really think that would be something that he would really like for that exploration of like Jamar's character and his evolution. Like, he's so desperate to get back in the game, but is it really what's best for him?
Mm-hmm.
I have a non-romance recommendation for him.
Go ahead.
For 2. So I recently read the book Babel by R.F. Kuang, which is an amazing like kind of fantasy about Oxford in the 1830s. And it's all about colonization and like the weight of colonization on the people who leave home and live in England. Mm-hmm. Right. So like essentially like the main character's name is Robin Swift. He's born in Canton. He gets taken to England to go to Oxford and be a translator. Mm-hmm. And like the burden on Robin as like being an outsider to the very place that like colonized his home and brought him here. I think like Sam's entire way of thinking about like who he is, those phone calls back home where his father's reminding him who he is.
Right. Him refusing Ted's gift of the little soldier man.
Yes. I think this book I think he would like love it and tell everybody about how great it is. So, not a romance, but I when you said like Ted Lasso books, like literally I was like, Sam would love this book.
Nice.
Yeah.
Diamond Dogs. First I want to talk about Higgins.
Yes.
Because Higgins is a sweet baby.
Yes.
And I feel like Higgins needs like a great small town romance.
I have a Higgins recommendation that is slightly different, which is
right.
the only other person who I think would love historical romance
Oh,
as much
for sure.
is Higgins.
Yes.
I think he would just be like swept away by it. And I actually think that he would love Beverly Jenkins. Because I think he would be a little too like, well, this isn't really how England is. You know what I mean? So I think an American historical would be like allow him to have that like escape fantasy kind of thing in a way that maybe if it was like real ballroomy, Regencies would not really be as much for him.
Yes. I can definitely see that. I think Bev is a great choice there. I also would say something like Secret History of the Pink Carnation, that whole series, which has the like,
oh yeah,
current day wraparound to it that would give him, that would solve your problem. But then also it's like a kind of rompy mystery spy. It would give him a real, like, there's a group of people working together. Nobody likes to be part of the club more than Higgins, right? Like, I mean, that Christmas episode where he brings everybody together, the fact that he basically invented the Diamond Dogs, like, I love it so much.
Sorry.
I love it so much. And so, yeah, I would say that. I also think, like I said, small town romances. So I'm thinking like Sarah Morgan, who is actually English. So like would really, I think, nail his like whole vibe. There is a really great small town contemporary that is my favorite Sarah Morgan book, which is called Suddenly Last Summer. The heroine is actually French and a chef at a ski resort, and the like owner of the ski resort just wants to love her. And
yeah,
nice.
I can see that. So I think like Jill Shalvis similarly, right? I don't think he likes real high heat. No. I just think he wants like a nice story.
Yeah, he wants to just like have a good feeling.
Have a good time.
And like maybe a friends to lovers romance.
Oh, like, yeah. Or like they meet when they're young and stay together forever. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Where I think actually, here's what I'll say. Let me posit that what Higgins wants is like that great secondary romance in a romance novel. Like he wants the two people who like are beautiful and together, and they're just like you can watch them like on the screen while all the other stuff is going on.
Agree. This week's episode of Fated Mates is sponsored by Lumi Labs, creators of the Microdose Gummy.
You've probably heard about microdosing. You've probably heard it from us. But if you search around a bit on the internet, you'll find all sorts of people who are microdosing to feel healthier and perform better. Jen, for example, uses microdosing to sleep.
I sure do.
Eric uses them for focus. I have used them for just a general sense of like taking the edge off over the last month, which is not like the worst thing in the world, but people use it for a creative boost or for pain management or for, anxiety, all kinds of things. Our show today is sponsored by Microdose Gummies, which deliver perfect entry-level doses of THC that help you feel just the right amount of good. And microdosing is available nationwide.
To learn more about microdosing, you can do a quick search, but once you go to microdose.com and place an order, you can use the code FATEDMATES to get free shipping and 30% off your first order. So check out show notes and check out Microdose Gummies. Thank you to Lumi Labs for sponsoring this week's episode.
So, Diamond Dogs Book Club.
Well, Higgins would love romance so much that he'd start it.
Higgins is for sure starting it, yes. And then Ted is going like, I love that idea. Let's do it. Roy will never admit that he is going. We haven't done Roy, but we have to get to Roy. He will never admit that he'll read the books, but he absolutely will.
100%.
Roy Kent, secretly, huge romance reader.
100%.
I mean,
he loves it. What a great story.
Started reading Dan Brown, I was like, this guy's a genre reader.
Yep.
Start to finish. Give him every Sandra Brown book.
Blind Tiger. I was going to say, I believe it.
Yeah. But That's not what Diamond Dogs will read.
No, the Diamond Dogs book club is definitely starting with the bromance book club. Higgins read a great article about it as an idea and was like, this is what we should do, team.
Yes. And then like they do wine like Roy's yoga girls.
Yes.
These four, they get together, they drink wine. Each month, one of them chooses a different romance novel. It's going to be great. At some point, Ted picks up For Real because it's set in London and he thinks he's going to learn a little about England.
Sure.
And then he learns a little about a lot of stuff. And Beard goes out and builds a dungeon for Jane.
Sure. I also think that the Diamond Dogs book club is going to read The Worst Best Man by Mia Sosa.
Oh, yes. Interesting.
I just think they're going to really,
it.
like, I'll be honest, I think they're really all about the, like, trade paperback rom-com. That's where the Diamond Dogs book club lives.
Yeah. I mean, okay. I'd like to think that we could maybe get them, the casino series or something. But,
well, obviously.
I mean,
obviously.
We could, maybe they'd like the Sinsters. Wait, who in the batch, tell me who in the room is into old school romance? We haven't talked about Isaac yet either, and I have some Isaac thoughts.
Oh, eventually Keeley. I think Keeley, like, very quickly realizes that Julie Garwood is the shit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
But I think Higgins, too. I think maybe Higgins and Keeley, like, have a secret, like, they love it together.
Yes, but also, can we just say Roy probably believes Derek Craven would never?
Oh, absolutely.
He sees himself in Derek Craven.
Yes. So do I now. Fine.
Sure. He's like, I understand. I get it.
I know the job.
Isaac.
Listen, wait. Before we get to Isaac, can I just say, Sassy does not need recommendations for us. She is already a romance reader.
Sassy is a romance author, Jen.
Yes.
Like, she's Jessica Kane.
Yeah, I mean, look, Sassy doesn't need our help. She's on it, everybody.
Isaac. Here's my pitch for Isaac. On the Hustle.
Oh, yeah.
On the Hustle, and this is why. I'll tell you why. First of all, I immediately was like, the Toy King, because the cover is basically Isaac, right?
Yes.
We'll put the cover in show notes, everybody, of Adriana Herrera as the Toy King. But no, not the Toy King, because that's just Santa erotica, which...
Right. Nothing wrong with that.
But that's another episode. On the Hustle, because Isaac needs that. I feel like Isaac will totally understand that sense of like the hero who did wrong and made a mistake and now has to sort of redeem that mistake, sort of reverse that, deal with the consequences of that mistake, and then come out on top. That is Isaac's trajectory in the first two seasons, and it's perfect.
Okay, completely.
Also, absolutely fire in bed, that man.
I think he would listen. I think he loves the Ice Planet Barbarians. I'm not going to lie to you. I just think he's like, look, I don't have a lot of time. I just need this to be short and to the point and great. And every single one of those dudes is just a hero, really.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what Isaac wants. I also think I could make a strong case for Isaac being a fan of like sci-fi romance. And maybe this is the same thing, right? Like Polaris Rising, maybe, like Space Princess. This is like Jesse Mihalik. And I think it's just because...
Like really seeing himself as a king.
Yeah. Also, like the weight of responsibility on like being like the team captain and such. Maybe he just wants like this pure escapism.
Right.
I feel like secretly he's a Star Wars fan. I don't know why I believe that. I just do.
Sure. Okay. Oh, I think somebody like Colin... I want to talk about Colin.
Yes.
Colin obviously needs a lot of love.
Yes.
And care. I think Colin's a sensitive soul.
Yeah.
And I would really like to give Colin some books that he like that feed that sensitive soul of him in him. I would like to give him Amy Dawes, the rugby books.
Okay. I mean, Colin is like in the closet.
Yeah, of course. Well, there's the queer one, right?
So I feel like Colin just wants to read books that validate.
Yes, that's the one I'm looking for. There's a queer one in that book, in that series, isn't there?
I think he would like see Christopher Rice. I think he would like the one we did the episode about with like the bully back from high school who couldn't admit who he really was.
I would give him Amy Andrews. I think Amy Andrews is a really good safe bet for lots of these people.
Agree.
The one I actually would give Roy, our favorite, which is Playing It Cool. But I would give Colin Playing It Safe, which is about a rugby player who has to keep his sexuality a secret because professional sports is tough for gay men. And then, of course, he falls in love, with a hot dude.
Another
hot sports player.
Sports ball player.
Sports ball player, rugby player.
Colin deserves nice things, everybody.
And it's great because the two of them like just fall for each other so fast. And it's, very hot, but also really shows how having the right person can make you like live out loud.
Yeah.
And I want that for Colin.
Yes.
Man, every time Nate comes for Colin, I want to punch him in his little face.
I know. Well, there's that great Rachel Reed series about the hockey players.
Oh, yeah?
And the one that is the one's called Heated Rivalry is the one that, like, everybody loves because it is just, like, this enemies to lovers. And they have been, like, just, like, secretly whenever they play each other, like, they get together. And it's been that way for years. And it is hot. And I think the most recent one in this series, they actually we returned to the same characters, if I'm correct. So that one was, maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, I'm not sure. The whole entire series by Rachel Reed is called The Game Changers, which is all about hockey. But I think that would also be great for Colin. These are great books. Love them. All right, who we have left? Roy and Rebecca.
Is that it?
I think so.
Okay.
Unless we're going to do people we hate, like her ex-husband.
Oh,
he doesn't
Rupert.
deserve.
No, he doesn't
deserve romance.
No, but what about the woman who owns the pub?
Oh, that's nice. Sure.
She's reading categories back there. She's got a
she already
pile
knows.
of blazes back there.
What about Danny?
Football is life. Oh, Danny, you also are such a himbo, and I love you so much.
I know.
Oh my gosh, Danny. Can you imagine Danny in a relationship? What's that like?
I don't know. He's not ready.
Nikki Sloan's the pool boy, everyone.
You know what? Danny just needs okay. What is that? It's not okay, we know what Pornhub is, but what's the one for women? It's called
Melissa.
Yes, he just needs a subscription to Melissa so that he can have some female-centered, right? It's really respectful because if he watches too much of the other stuff, he's just gonna be desensitized to people.
His sweet baby brain is gonna get pickled,
right? Yeah. So what about Dr. Sharon?
Dr. Sharon. Oh my God, Dr. Sharon. All right, well, first things first, deliver Dr. Sharon Millivane's A Heart of Blood and Ashes. Just really give her, the full feminist extravaganza.
I love it.
Right?
That's the answer. Yes.
And then that way she's got a whole series to go, and then she can leave Millavane and go read all the Mel Jean Brooks books, because Mel Jean Brooke and Millavane are the same person. And what else?
There's that great series by Synethia Williams about the family that owns the tobacco company. And it's all the family drama.
Oh, I like
right?
it.
So in each one, she would be diagnosing, why is this right? And I think that book really leans hard into the soapy things. I also think that Dr. Sharon would love 100%. This is the right answer. Everything I said before is wrong or second to Kennedy Ryan.
Yes. 1,000%.
Yeah, that's it. She just wants to read Kennedy Ryan. And then she stops and goes back to the beginning. Because again, soapy drama, people really interacting with their feelings, right? Big stories. I think she would love it.
That's correct. Yes. Correct.
No, as soon as I thought, everything I said before was wrong. That was right.
Who's reading, like, fake or late? Like, who's reading the real tropey ones? Well, like, Keely. We know Keely's a romance reader.
Right.
I feel like we have to talk about, all right, so let's do Roy, and then let's come back, then let's do Rebecca.
Yeah.
Because, so Roy, well, like I said, I really feel like he would appreciate the Sydney Smoke books.
Yeah, of course.
I think part of the reason why I said earlier, I think he'd like playing it cool, and the reason why I think he'd like playing it cool is because Roy can't stand people being assholes. Don't you dare settle for fine is like, if you needed to boil the romance novel genre down to like the 6 words or however many words that is, it is don't you dare settle for fine. And so I think playing it cool would work because I think like it's sort of in that sports world, and the heroine, who is curvy, her brother is a real asshole to her in front of, I think he's in the media. He's like a sports journalist, and he says something really like shitty to her in front of everybody. And Dexter, the hero, is like, shut your mouth. She's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Done.
Yeah. I think, look, Keely is a historical reader and Roy is a Kleypas reader.
Oh, well, Roy reads Roy reads Lisa Kleypas because Keely reads romance novels. And so
exactly.
This is how he connects with her.
Right, absolutely. And then sometimes she gets a little annoyed because she's like, I just want to read my books in peace now. You want to talk about them?
Yeah, he definitely wants to talk about them.
Right, sure. And so then she's like, we can only talk about them if we try out the fun stuff first. That's the rule.
They're perfect.
What else would Roy like?
It's hard. Roy's tough.
But Roy's a reader. So you know what? Look, Roy is a reader. I think he would like Kate's books.
Yeah.
Right? I really do. I
appreciate that you think that I agree he reads Kleypas, but like he's a contemporary reader.
He's a contemporary reader.
He doesn't have time for like all of this mess.
The frippery, yeah.
No.
I think he would like, especially Luck of the Draw.
Yep.
Because I think that he would really like get into the fact that like she had done wrong. I think that would really ring his bell, to be honest.
Push his buttons.
I also think that he would probably like, I think he'd be a Christina Lauren reader too.
Yeah, I can see that. I could see that him really liking the soulmate equation.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
Because there's something about that book that like, there's that sort of weird, there's that magic element to it in terms of like this like magical, there's like some science-y thing that has, they've cracked the code of true love. And then of course it all turns out that they haven't cracked the code of true love at all, because true love is uncrackable as a code.
Yeah. And I think I could even see him liking like Tia Williams. I think that like some of the big books, You Made a Fool of Death with Her Beauty, like the books that are kind of adjacent to like the mainstream literature, right? Because I feel like he again likes the big kind of sweeping story aspect, right? This is a person who read A Wrinkle in Time and Dan Brown, right? So it's got to be plot heavy, it's got to be moving, there has to be things happening for Roy.
Now listen, is it possible that Roy Kent is an IAD reader?
100%.
I mean, I think so, right? Like that Dan Brown is that's the real tell that he really loves a story. He loves a story with a plot.
Yes, I agree.
I think he is probably a huge IAD reader.
I
agree.
agree.
I think he also was angry that the Dacians happened and took up time in between there.
Yes. He was like, what's it? And I would also say he likes a strong woman, right? I mean, this is the other thing, right? These books have really strong women as the main characters, and I think he would really like that a lot.
Yeah. So I'm also going to suggest that Rebecca also likes a paranormal, but like an old school paranormal with like, like a Black Dagger Brotherhood style. Because something where like, there's like, she can let her guard down a little bit.
Just like be swept. See, and that's what I was going to say. She is a woman who just really is like, look, she's in control of everything all the time. So she's going to want her reading to really have like more of that escapist kind of feeling to it. 100%.
Yes. I think she could be into like kink, like again, possibly into daddy kink in like a, maybe
Sure,
not
hot.
like,
Why not?
not like actual daddy kink, but like, kink where like the heroine gets again, like sort of
That praise kink.
tied up and pleasured and praised. Yeah. Praise kink. Sarah Kate's praise would work for her.
Yep.
Just like a real, when Rebecca comes to romance, she wants it to sweep her away. So I do think Rebecca could be a historical reader.
I think so too.
P.S. If any of you know Hannah Waddingham, like make sure she sees Hell's Bells because Duchess is her.
Listen, she 100%, like I know I'm not usually allowed to talk about your books, but if anybody, any of this crew, it's are Sarah McLean readers. It's Roy and it's Rebecca.
Yeah. I mean,
Right?
I think Rebecca loves it. I think Rebecca likes a modern historical.
Yes,
like she
agree.
likes me, she likes Joanna, she likes Diana Quincy, she likes Sophie Jordan, she likes Adriana Herrera.
Agree.
Because like she likes a heroine who knows what she wants and a hero who is both going to help her get what she wants because he wants her to thrive and also blow her back out.
Simple as that.
Speaking of, Tracy Livesey would also work for Rebecca.
Oh,
I think.
yeah. I think for sure she would like those books. That'd be great.
Oh, wait. Ted Lasso needs to read American Royalty. He would love that.
He would. That's actually super smart. Yeah, he would love it. Because he'd be like me, completely confused by all of the like rigmarole about like the relationships between the royals.
He totally would. And he would be annoyed that like, he would be like, not annoyed, but he would be like a little bit frustrated that nobody was taking Duchess seriously, Danny seriously.
Yes.
Very much in Danny's corner.
Agree.
On that front. Anyway, back to Rebecca. It's there is a clear line between a book Rebecca would love and Rebecca. I feel like that is not a difficult question. But also no sports books.
I don't think she would like those at all. I think she'd be like, that's not how any of this works. I think I would like to make the case that Rebecca read romance when she was a teenager and forgot about it until she started reading romance again and then remembered how much she loved, like,
The Bride.
Yes, Julie Garwood.
She spends a lot of time going, when I was young, I read this book and this random thing happened in it.
Yes, yes.
She needs to know that there is like whole Facebook groups and podcasts devoted to her.
Yes.
Finding those books.
I think that's it. I think she's kind of like, oh yeah, I love these, right? And then she comes back to them. Mm-hmm. I also think you can make the case that she would be a Nora Roberts reader.
Yes.
Right? Like, just like... It's a great read. I think also Roy. I think actually of all of them, to me, in a weird way, Roy and Rebecca have a lot of similarities.
They're very similar.
Right? Because I think Roy is also, like, Roy would also love Nora Roberts.
They're both pragmatic enough.
Yes.
That they understand that, like, romance is, like, you can't let yourself be swept away. But, like, you can still have romantic experiences.
Just give me a good story, right?
Exactly.
And it needs to be wrapped up in a good story. There's no point in wasting my time.
Nora for Roy is a really good recommendation.
I think it's just taking me a while to, like, hit my groove with Roy because I, believe it or not, wasn't thinking of him. But I do. I think he would love Nora Roberts. Mm-hmm. Like, that whole In Death series.
Oh, interesting. In Death. Yeah.
Right? I think Roy, I think... Again, Hidden Legacy. I was wrong. I said Jamie, but you're right. He's not smart enough for it. Roy would like it, right? That whole Mad Rogan vibe.
Mm-hmm. I think Beard and Ted would also like Hidden Legacy. I feel like Hidden Legacy could easily be a Diamond Dogs book club pick.
So would Whiteout by Adriana Anders.
Yeah,
right. They would love that.
And then I can see like Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels being like a like quiet beard fave.
Oh yeah, I could
like
see
just
that.
Something a little bit different and like quirky.
I agree. That's a great recommendation for him.
Guys, is this episode really blowing your minds?
Perfect. Here's what we're going to do.
This is good.
Listen,
Yeah.
I've got an idea.
Tell me.
If Twitter still exists on Wednesday when this comes out, and that's a big if, everybody. If not, we'll have to do it on Instagram or Tumblr or wherever. You can ask us, give us a book title, and ask us which Ted Lasso character do we think would like it, and we will give you an answer.
Yes.
Right? You can stump us. You can be like Perfect by Judith McNaught.
Oh, that's Ted. That's a Ted book.
Absolutely it is.
Because,
right?
I mean, 1,000%. Here's one that I think could really work. I'm trying to think. It might be a Jamie book, but it's a little smarter than Jamie is. But I feel like we're moving Jamie. Like, Jamie's evolving. He's evolving. But Mia Hopkins is thirsty. Again, like that sort of like come from behind, like kind of a real sense of like you don't have to prove yourself. Like
redemption.
Yeah.
You know what? Who's a Jenny Cruzy fan?
Well, that's a rom-com.
Ted.
It's hard. I don't know. We haven't met enough of the guys. We're missing. I feel like we've forgotten. Oh my God, Trent Crimm. Oh my God, Trent Crimm.
The Independent.
Trent Crimm, The Independent, needs to read Lord of Scoundrels immediately.
Yeah, that's the answer. There you go. Done. There is no other answer. Yeah, that's it.
I mean, don't you feel like Lord of Scoundrels that feels like a good
Absolutely.
Good pick.
He's he's embarrassed by how much he loves romance. Because he wants to be all hard, but really Trent Crimm finds a lot of love for it. I can see that, right? Like Ted wins him over the same way Ted wins him over. Romance wins him over.
I think Trent Crimm is definitely a historical reader, though. Like I feel like I could see Trent Crimm reading like Lorraine Heath
or Cat Sebastian.
Cat is a good answer.
Listen, he loves Cat Sebastian. He can't get enough of it.
KJ Charles. Trent Crimm is a KJ Charles stan.
Yes.
That is it. It's that one. Because it's just like, like all of KJ's books are so smart. They're so clever. Like the turns of phrase. He'd marvel at the writing. Trent Crimm is a KJ Charles stan. He's first in line every time she does a signing.
That is exactly right. That's it.
And when he makes her sign it, he says, Trent Crimm, The Independent.
Well, I don't know how I'm going to put all these books into show notes.
We're just going to do a full, it's just no words in show notes. It's just going to be the images.
Maybe I'll break it down. I'll be like Rebecca's books. Bam.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like I said, you would stump us. You'd be like, who would read this? Who would watch this?
I like that.
That'll be fun.
Taking the Heat, I feel like Victoria Dahl, that's a Rebecca book, maybe.
Oh, I would agree. 100%. You know what book Jamie Tart would really love?
What?
The Kiss Quotient. Because he would just be amazed that people were so smart.
What about, like, motorcycle romance?
Keeley.
Oh, yeah.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Keeley reads here's the thing. Everybody goes to Keeley for the wreck.
Yeah.
What should I read next? Sassy
is writing Motorcycle Club romance.
I told you, Sassy is Jessica Kane.
Yeah.
This is fun. If you're out there and you live in Hollywood and you write for TV and you ever think to yourself like, oh, in this scene, I would really like for the character to be reading a romance novel, you can always hit me and Jenna.
This is a service we can provide.
Actual advice on what book they would in fact be reading. Also, because that would be very fun, and also it would be a fun Easter egg for all of Romancelandia.
I mean, I still get a thrill when I think about that ending scene where Harley Quinn is reading a book by Molly O'Keefe. Like, it's awesome. So perfect. Her reading, like, kind of a sweet, small town, but dirty romance. I was like, this is amazing. It is so perfect. God, who would be a Molly O'Keefe reader?
Well, you just
Beard.
Beard. Oh, my God.
Beard would love Molly. Like that Everything I Left Unsaid trilogy, Beard is eating that up.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Too fun. I could do this all day.
Yeah. It's funny how there's some stuff, though, that, like, I can't imagine any of, like, dark romance, like, all the gritty stuff, like, Run, Posey, Run. I was trying to think about Run, Posey, Run. I don't think, I mean, yes, Keely, yes, Sassy, fine, but, like, I don't think that, like, that's not the vibe for any of these. These heroes are too in touch with themselves. Like, it's
Right.
they're so well written. They're just, like,
Right.
too, like, into, like, bodily autonomy and, like,
Right.
identity.
Yes, I agree. They're not dark romance fans, the Ted Lasso people. Nate would like try it because he'd think that's for him,
Yeah,
but then he would be
tough.
like, yeah, no, that's why he needs to read Side Changelings
Oh,
instead.
wait, you know what Colin needs to read?
What?
Honey Trap.
Oh, sure.
Colin, read Honey Trap. It's so good, and it will
Does
help
Colin
you.
know what the Cold War is, though? Rough. You know what? He could ask Sam for help. He'd be like, Sam, what's the Cold War?
Maybe Sam could, like, run a little book club out there.
Yeah, right.
Sam's, like, for sure the smartest of that bunch, so.
Okay.
All right, team.
This was a lot of fun. Thank you to our sponsors this week. Remember, you can support us by supporting our sponsors. Forever Romance, publishers of Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan, Lumi Labs, makers of the Microdose Gummies, and The Villain I'd Like to F. You know what that means, everybody. Anthology. We hope that you check all of these out and more. And thank you for listening to this week's episode.